DailyBagSkate Podcast, Episode 1, featuring Des Bryant, Dallas Stars, fucking Missouri riots, and any other miscellaneous news I find. Let's start out with Missouri. So, last week, these fucking nimrods out in Missouri started rioting because of the racial tension and mistreatment of minorities at the University of Missouri. Fine. If you have a problem with that, you can go ahead and protest. But there was never really a clear reason as to why they were protesting until mid-protest when the New York Times reported that it was due to a man yelling at a professor, and it was due to some psychopath taking a shit in his hand and then friggin' wiping on the wall in the shape of a swastika. Alright, so those are two very bad situations, I understand, but the way this whole protest has been handled has just been fucked up from the beginning. You have idiots yelling at reporters at a, mind you, the best journalism school in the country, saying, "Get the fuck out of here! Hey, I need backup, we need support." Are you kidding me with this shit? Get the fuck out of here with this. You mean to tell me you went to a public university at the best journalism school in the country doing a protest about about racism, probably the most hottest topic in our country right now, and you expected for there not to be any media publicity? This is insane. These people protesting right now have no idea what they're even protesting about, number one. Number two, if they had any idea, then they would know that this would create a huge amount of negative media attention, both negative and positive, but mostly negative with today's media. So the fact that this is even being an issue right now is such a joke. If they want to protest, I'm all fine with that. Hell, I even support some of the stuff that they're talking about. That stuff shouldn't fly at a college campus. But kicking out journalists because they are reporting on a story, mind you, University of Missouri has like the number one ranked journalism program in the country for both undergraduate and graduate. It's amazing. Like, I cannot believe the logic of some of these people. All right, moving on. Des Bryant. This fucking clown. Every time this guy's in the fucking story or in the fucking news, I literally want to kill him. So today, apparently, one of the ESPN reporters asked Des Bryant a question, and a slip of the tongue, Des Bryant thought he said the N-word, which the reporter didn't. And then Des Bryant flipped out, saying that he used a racial expression and that he reported misinformation, called the guy a fucking asshole, all that shit. Jason Witten and I believe one of the cornerbacks had to break up, get in between Des and the reporter. It's just a fucking ridiculous situation. It's classic Des Bryant. Everything that guy does, says, stands for is just ridiculous. I think like a friggin' month ago, that guy had a pet monkey, and he almost got sued by PETA. I mean, screw PETA, but still, it's Des Bryant. He shouldn't own a monkey. I mean, everything this guy does just sucks. I mean, when I heard that he was injured, broke his foot, I was actually kind of glad because it meant that we wouldn't have to see him go out in the field and bitch at referees for making bad calls. But then it was even worse because he's on the sidelines and he's bitching at his own teammates and still getting more camera time than anybody else in the field. So the fact that this asshole went out of his way to yell at a friggin' ESPN reporter. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of ESPN, but if you're going to yell at a reporter for what was clearly a slip of the tongue, even if he did say something close to the N-word, it's just ridiculous. The Cowboys are a joke. They're 2-6. They're pretty much out of it in the NFC East, even though the Giants are only 5-4. But I mean, Romo is not back for another couple weeks, and what's that proven? If you don't have Tony Romo, you suck. Like, the Cowboys haven't been able to do shit. So Des Bryant's just an idiot. He's looking for attention, obviously, like he always is. Fuck him. Cowboys suck. Enjoy being 2-6 or 2-7, whatever the hell you losers are. You aren't going to the playoffs. How about them Cowboys? All right, moving on. Is it time to take the Dallas Stars seriously? I think it is. I think the Dallas Stars, I mean, right now they're sitting at 12-4. They have 24 points. They're 1 point ahead of the Blues in the Central Division. They have the most points in the NHL. I think times are changing in the Western Conference. I think we finally have seen the end of the Blackhawks dynasty. I mean, I still think the Blackhawks are going to be a cup contender for this year and years to come, obviously. But, you know, now that Dallas has a solid top scoring line of Sagan and Ben and Nichushkin, and their secondary line is ridiculous. It's Alex Hemsky, Jason Spezza, like Patrick Sharp. Their freaking team is stacked right now. Like, I know they have Johnny Oduya. He's a pretty good defenseman. I mean, he showed that he was reliable when he was in Chicago. And their goalies are Antti Niemi and Kari Lehtinen. I mean, that's a pretty sick 1-2 punch right now. I'm not gonna lie. I think you got to take them seriously. You got to take the St. Louis Blues seriously. I know it's the Blues. They choke in the playoffs. But that talent right now with Tarasenko and Steen and Schwartz and the Terra all lighting it up, you got to take them seriously, man. Another team to take seriously, obviously, is the Canadiens. They lost to Pittsburgh in a shootout last night. I think it was 4-3. Yeah, 4-3. Crosby. That was the shortest shootout I've ever seen. It was friggin' Crosby and Perron just went right back to back and burned that guy. Condon. Condon's his name from Montreal? Yeah, Condon. The Price wasn't playing, so they had Condon in that. Montreal did. And Crosby and Perron just came in, made two of the easiest forehand, backhand moves ever, and it was over. But, it was a great win by Pittsburgh. But I think you got to take both these teams seriously, more so Montreal, because, look what they got. They have Carey Price, who's just by far and large the best goaltender in the NHL right now. Subban's doing his thing. You have Pacioretty doing work. The Canadiens have actually gotten a lot deeper this year. That guy Gilbert and Petrie back on defense. I really like the way they're playing. Obviously I fucking hate the way they're playing because they're kicking the shit out of the Bruins every time they play them. But Montreal's going to be a dangerous team come April and May and June. If they can even get into June, that's been like they haven't been able to get over that hump the last few years. I think this might be the final. This finally might be the year that they get to the Cup final. I think it's going to be. If I had to pick a Final Four now, it's kind of hard because it's hockey. It's different. But it's top 4 teams in the league right now are easily Dallas, St. Louis, Montreal, and Pittsburgh. I would not be surprised to see those 4 teams get into the conference finals. If I had to pick a wild card, some team to knock off one of those 4 and get into the conference finals, I'd say probably either Minnesota or Vancouver could maybe get in to the conference finals. Obviously Chicago. In the East, I really don't see anybody being able to beat either Montreal or Pittsburgh. I just don't see it happening. But yeah, I guess you could say Pittsburgh could probably contend with. Pittsburgh could definitely contend with either St. Louis or Chicago. I'm afraid of St. Louis, Chicago, or Dallas. I'm afraid of Montreal not being able to contend with the speed of the Western teams because Montreal, as we've seen in years past, has gotten pretty far, and then they just got their asses kicked by Boston in the second round, but they still won the series, but they were beat up as hell. They went and played a New York Rangers team, which I thought they were 100 times better than on paper, and the Rangers just outmuscled them with their fourth line of Dom Moore, Brian Boyle. Those guys just stepped up for the Rangers and ended up taking them to the Stanley Cup Finals and beating the Canadiens in 6 games. So right now I would say best team in the NHL, Dallas Stars. Biggest threat out of the East, Montreal. Biggest sleeper team, probably the Minnesota Wild. And still a top dog, you got to say, is the Chicago Blackhawks, even though they're amazingly only in 5th place in the Central Division. I don't know. A lot can happen, though. We'll see what happens. I still think that's going to be Dallas or St. Louis coming out of the West. But, with Chicago, they could be – all they got to do is get in. And same with L.A. L.A. and Chicago, all they got to do is get in, and they can win a cup. But that'll do it for today's initial Daily BagSkate Podcast. If you guys like this shit, comment, like it, whatever. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself. All right, talk to you guys.